Okay, so the last few days, obviously, Paul Kent's sacking and guilty plea at court in regards to the drunken brawl outside the pub back in April have dominated the channel. In fact, the Paul Kent sacking video is now the most popular video on the channel ever. And it's done that in a very short space of time where it took years for the Dan Rowan video to reach the same level. That's sink in. That's the second most popular video on the channel. But here's a common theme: mainstream media, mainstream sports media, and, well, how toxic it actually is. I'm not a massive fan of the mainstream sports media and mainstream media in general. I do feel there's a biased agenda there. And a lot of it predates, most of my dislike actually predates the channel. I think when it comes to live sports broadcasts, I think the quality is crap. Personally, I think the quality has gone downhill in the last decade, 15 years. I've noticed a declining quality when it comes to the punditry, the presenting teams, and the commentary. I think a lot of people agree with that for different reasons, but I think the quality of live sports broadcasts has diminished. Of course, Clive Tilsley getting the boot from ITV, not having his contract renewed, or not even allowing to retire on his own terms, the way ITV handled that was really poor. Really poor. He should be commentating the final for ITV, in my opinion. Not happening. Not happy with that. But then you've got personalities like Dean Saunders, who, again, very similar to Paul Kent, a lot of alcohol-related incidents, has actually kept his job at TalkSport. How he did that, I have no idea, because he was suspended for drink driving, pending his outcome of his court case. He got found guilty of drink driving. He was suspended and he's been allowed back on the radio channel. Paul Kent, obviously, he's dominated the channel and headlines in Australia for his legal issues and alcohol-related issues. He obviously ultimately did get the sack, but he was suspended twice by his employers. Of course, then I can mention like Ron Atkinson. He got the sack from Sky for making racial slurs on a hot mic, but then Dan Rowan doesn't get suspended or reprimanded for his hot mic incident outside Leicester City's King Power Stadium following the helicopter crash in the moments after. No reprimand. They just stood him down for a few days, but he wasn't technically suspended. He was just not on camera doing reports for the BBC sports division for a while. So there's clearly what we're having here is hypocrisy. There is no. And then we can get into the phone hacking, and I can use Paul Gascoigne as an example. He was a high-profile football player. For those who don't follow English football from outside the UK, Paul Gascoigne in the 80s and 90s was one of the top players in Europe. One of the most gifted players for pure skill and ability, but alcohol issues and drug issues off the field ultimately derailed his career. Injury didn't help, but his alcohol issues and his drug use ultimately, curtailed both his playing and managerial career. Proper character though, absolute character, proper Jack the lad. Great sense of humour, but he had a lot of issues and he wasn't looked after by football. We can all agree on that. But the media, if you watch the Paul Gascoigne documentary, if you've watched it, it's a two-parter, and turns out that the sports media were paying his friends for information, bugging his phone, harassing his family, and would deliberately provoke some kind of incident to then write a story. Paul Gascoigne was basically told by some very close friends and family, mate, you're paranoid. Like, this is the alcohol. When actually, he was proven right. His life has been destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. And that just sums up the culture within mainstream journalism. We obviously had the phone hacking scandal, and a fair few high-profile sports stars had to give evidence at the Leveson inquiry in regards to phone hacking, and what came out about some of the methods used to gain information. So I'm not interested in so-and-so's private life, really, but the tabloid media were trying to get their circulation numbers up, their related websites, trying to get views on the website, clicks on the articles up. And some of the methods used were quite distasteful and illegal as well. And when you've got high-profile athletes like Freddie Flintoff going on the Piers Morgan show, and Piers Morgan, he signed off. Well, he claims he didn't know anything about the phone hacking, but they went after Freddie Flintoff when the Pedalo incident happened, and some of his issues with alcohol and the breakdown of his first marriage. And it did impact his playing career for Lancashire and England when it came to first-class cricket. The media treated Freddie Flintoff disgustingly. Now, he's working for the mainstream media, worked that one out. But when he was a high-profile England player, they went after him. They did the same with Ian Botham back in the day. Some of the articles published about a lot of high-profile athletes, about their private lives, even when it comes to their playing performances and their playing, their contracts, transfers, whatever. It doesn't matter the sport. Some of the articles about them are quite, well, I call it gutter press. Absolute gutter press. It's sleazy, it's cheap, and it's going to have an impact on an athlete or just a human being's mental health. It's going to impact their performances. And then a lot of the other stuff is pure speculation that does nothing to help. It's just noise. And a lot of ex-players, a lot of ex-athletes go, well, when we were in the dressing room, when we were at training, didn't read the newspapers. And sometimes it became a running joke with players of a lot, athletes about, oh, look what BS they're printing today on the back pages or the front pages. You don't want to make the front page as an athlete. That's generally not good. Some of the reporting surrounding the Ben Stokes and Alex Hales legal issues they had when they had to go to court, and that incident outside a Bristol nightclub. Yes, they shouldn't have been there. They should have. It was curfew. It was an international test series and one-day series against the West Indies. They should have been back in the team hotel. Absolutely, they broke curfew. Other teammates were trying to drag them away from the bar a lot earlier, saying that we've got curfew. Some of those senior players, Jimmy Anderson, for example, was involved in the Pedalo incident. The media went after him as well, alongside Freddie Flintoff, but Freddie Flintoff was the star player for England at the time. And yes, some of the reporting and some of the narrative around Ben Stokes, I'm not a Ben Stokes fan. I can appreciate the quality he has as a player. I'm not a Ben Stokes fan. But that wasn't media influenced. If anything, I think the media coverage did damage his reputation, and there were some concerns whether he would play for England again, whether he should play for England again. That's a fair debate to have if you're facing serious criminal charges. I think the reporting around Ben Stokes has not been great. Andy Murray, when he wins, he's British. When he loses, he's Scottish. Again, that's a media narrative that's fed to sow division. I don't like that. I think Andy Murray's been a great ambassador for tennis for this country. He's one of the most successful male players in singles we've ever had. His brother Jamie is one of the most successful double players we've ever had. Has also won a fair few Grand Slams as well in the Grand Slam era. But at times the speculation surrounding Andy Murray's injuries, his career, the intrusion into his private life, that I didn't like that. It's the same with Chris Froome and Bradley Wiggins. There's been a narrative that they were doping and speculation about what's happening behind the scenes. Now, Bradley Wiggins is well, he's got his known financial issues right now. He's basically bankrupt. And it is a bit of a fall from grace. But there was a bit of a narrative going on when these guys are winning Olympic medals, winning Tour de France. They're up on the high. As soon as they're not flavour of the month, the media went after them. We've seen it with numerous football players. I use Paul Gascoigne as the example for English audiences. Then what we've got to do is go over to places like Australia. You've got Ben Barber. Basically, well, his off-field antics haven't helped his case, but he's shot himself in the foot. The Latrell Mitchell circus. I do think Latrell Mitchell is not fulfilling his contract. I don't think he's playing to the best of his ability. He's had a good run in the last month, but some of the media coverage around Latrell Mitchell is getting a bit unnecessary. Okay, he's a very, very talented player. He doesn't always, perform to the ability he has. Yes, there have been some very poor performances. If you look at the advanced stats, they're not great in comparison to other players who play similar positions on the field. Then you've obviously got other high-profile players as well. There's some the Penrith Panthers, the Melbourne Storm, two high-profile teams, very controversial with some fan bases for various reasons. And again, the whole Melbourne Storm salary cap scandal. Craig Bellamy's parents were getting death threats, and that was this is through the media reporting and the narrative they were spinning. Yes, they cheated the salary cap. Yes, it was a bad look for the NRL. The same thing happened with the AFL with Carlton with their salary cap breach. Ben Cousins, that whole saga, there was some rather distasteful reporting around that. And the Ben Cousins saga made headlines over here as well. I remember Ben Cousins making the international news over here. AFL is not a big sport in the UK for fandom. There are fans of the AFL. There's a lot of Australian expats over here, yes. But that was making news over here, and some of the reporting about Ben Cousins, yes, there was a lot of issues in his personal life off the field. There were issues with domestic violence and drug use and alcohol use. Yes, he had addiction issues. The media reporting did not help him. He didn't help himself, but I think it contributed significantly to the issues he was facing. I just use them as some of the examples from Australia. Like North America, there's been a lot about the Corey Perry in the NHL, about why the Chicago Blackhawks basically waived him and all that situation. And the Chicago Blackhawks is an organisation that's been in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons in recent years, for a variety of non-play related issues, off-ice issues. But the Corey Perry, I mean, the reporting around that, there's a lot of speculation. There was a lot of high-profile journalists on social media speculating, which then led to he's having an affair with a teammate's mother. Connor Bedard, a younger player, young superstar player, early in his career, professional career, senior veteran player. There was speculation about an intermarital affair between Corey Perry and Connor Bedard's mother. That was completely false. A lot of people believed it. Then it goes on social media, and then the cycle, the speculatory articles. The way the media covered that was wrong. It was up to the Chicago Blackhawks as an organisation to give a press release and explain why. But because it got leaked, and of course leaks, I mean, some leagues have more leaks than a sieve. Some sports have more. But some of the reporting, there was an agenda there. Corey Perry ends up going to the Edmonton Oilers, leaves the team. We still don't know the full ins and outs of what happened. At some point, someone will give a press statement or a news conference or even an interview to a journalist about that incident that led to Corey Perry leaving the Chicago Blackhawks. Speculation about, players basically trying to and then their contracts. Some of it is completely unnecessary. I think sports reporting should be about facts. Here's the result. Here's how the team played. Here's the advanced stats. Make of that what you will. It's clickbait. But then we find out about the actual culture in the newsroom, and with reporters and the newsroom and production staff and editors and some of the culture going on there and some of the wild partying and some of the heavy drinking and drug use, which is well known with mainstream journalism. There's a lot of drug use. There's a lot of alcohol use. There's a couple of pubs in London that I've been to where it's a known haunt for mainstream journalists, be it sports journalists or the mainstream news journalists, to have a bevy because it's right by a film studio on the South Bank. It's a well-known pub. And you'll see a lot of journalists in there and news presenters and sports presenters in there getting rather drunk at lunch. We're talking absolutely sozzled. We're talking to a point where they're so inebriated. If someone came in with a camera phone going, oh look, I've seen this celebrity or this high profile, and in the age of social media, camera phone, that could be career ending. That could be career suicide. And as we've seen with Paul Kent. Now, yes, he was provoked in that incident, and there's a lot of debate about, what was said to him and regardless that he had been heavily drinking all day, there's a lot of debate was like, well, he was clearly provoked. You don't just start swinging for someone unless someone's provoked you. Now, yeah, he should have known better. He should have controlled himself better. His friendship group should have got him away from there. But people were filming it. They were known that he was provoked. They were known, and they were just doing it for clicks for their own social media. But he destroyed his own career by his own actions. And the mainstream media, the fact that there's been radio silence from the Murdoch group of publications and TV channels surrounding their former work colleague an employee, but rival stations are picking it up and going after him. They're going out, they're putting the boot in. They're putting the boot in of one of their own. That's the culture of mainstream sports journalism. Well, I don't like it. I've been approached by some independent sports websites about doing content for them, and I've said no. One, I have a full-time job, and two, I don't want to. I don't want to write news articles or social media posts or do video content for anyone but myself. Freelance, I think, is a good way to describe me. I've had several sports news websites contact me, either through their YouTube channels or Twitter feeds, and basically ask me if I would like to share content. No, I don't want to. And I've read some of the articles some of these sports websites publish. I'm like, you're going after the player, the administrator, the coach, the team. It's a clickbait article. You're trying to sow division, rather than actually reporting, okay, this club is in financial difficulty, this player is suspended for these exact reasons. I mean, yeah, I don't know, but it's a bit of a rant, this video, but I'm basically describing my dislike of the mainstream media. There is a cultural issue behind it, and then there's the way they operate. The way they operate doesn't sit well with me. I haven't even got onto subscription sports TV. I've been very, very clear about my views on that. A, it's too expensive, and B, it's prohibitive of getting less well-off people and families and kids actively engaged in sport. We have an obesity crisis in this country. We have a health crisis in this country. We've got a mental health crisis in this country and around the world, and young people are suffering as a result. Young people are not as healthy and active as what they were 20 years ago. Social media's got a part to play in that, but at the same time, the mainstream media are putting paywalls in the way. Sports channels and sports networks are putting paywalls in the way. They're making it too expensive for fans to consume the content. Too much greed. We saw that with formerly BT Sport, now known as TNT Sports, and Sky Sports with the Premier League, with the pay-per-view fiasco back at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021. It lasted a month. More people used illegal VPNs and illegal streams to watch the matches than actually watched the matches. There was one game, I think it was Burnley West Brom. 86 people paid for that pay-per-view. 86 people. Nationwide. Bearing in mind, West Brom has got a pretty big fan base in the West Midlands, and Burnley's, well, regionally quite well supported in East Lancashire. It's a traditional club. But those two areas are also exceptionally poor areas. They don't have a lot of disposable income. To then slap on, not only with their Sky or BT Sports subscription, then slap on a pay-per-view on top of that, is a double insult to hard-working people who don't have a lot of money, who are dedicated to their teams, who are fanatical with their support. And they are. Burnley's fan base is fanatical. West Brom's fan base is fanatical. They are passionate fan bases. These are two of the founding members of the Football League. These are two of the oldest clubs in England. Traditional clubs. Their fan bases are loud and proud. But they come from areas of high deprivation. And then the mainstream media are going, we're going to slap on, you've got to pay for your subscription, which is, if you work it out, is well overpriced. And when you pay for a subscription service, you think, no adverts galore, because they're not making enough money, you see. And then on top of that subscription, you're going to have a pay-per-view to watch your team play. At the same time, these same networks will not show live games at 3 o'clock. But the overseas market can. Again, that's not gone down well at all with sports fans in this country. But, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of reasons why I dislike the mainstream media. Their reporting is gutter press. They seem to have protect their own. Because Paul Kent was given multiple chances. Dean Saunders has been given multiple chances. But then there's others on the flip side, like Ron Atkinson, sacked straight away. And you can't have smoke without fire. And that speaks to the culture within the news desk, within mainstream sports media. It's the same as the mainstream media. It's a very toxic culture as well. So there we go. That's my views on it. It's a bit of a ramble, but I basically highlighted a lot of areas that, not a fan. I do dislike the mainstream sports media. And there we go. So, place your thoughts on the mainstream sports media in the comment section below. Content section? I'm making the content. Whew, long video. I don't normally make videos this long, but place your thoughts in the comment section below. And yeah, I'm going to be interested to see what people place in the comment section below. It's going to be very, very interesting to see the comment section after this. But for me, for now, thank you very much for watching. Yeah, place those thoughts below, and I'll have some more content for you guys very, very soon.